Let me just tell you this from an offensive guy's perspective, from a guy that played in the NFL. The hip drop tackle. I literally got injured all the time, so I know about injuries and I understand all this. But what do you want these guys to do? Is my first reaction. Like, seriously, what do you want these defenders to do? I mean, we're just removing every chance from them to actually play football. And what this is going to lead to is nothing pisses off guys more than when your paycheck's a little light.
Yeah.
Okay? So what happens is you're going to get fined in these games, and a nice little letter is going to show up in your locker on Monday, and it's going to say, fined for a hip drop tackle, $7,000 out of your paycheck. And the guys are going to sit here and say, what do you want from us? What do they want from us? Because we keep talking about what they can't do. And I've yet to see a montage put together of what's expected when the situation, like sometimes football just happens and you can't do anything. You wrap a guy up, he's a strong football player and you're trying to tackle him and you might roll up on a little bit and someone might get hurt. I have an issue when you're making rules, you're solving problems that didn't really need to be solved, because then there's ripple effects, you know?
And you see the helmet to helmet, and obviously this is all in an effort to limit the injuries, right? To keep the guys safer. But I never played football, but I would imagine if you are running full speed at someone, it's kind of hard to control the momentum as you're trying to, tackle somebody. Could it create even different types of injuries, or could it still create injuries because you're trying to overcompensate and, make sure you're hitting a certain target or something like that? That's
a great question. That is a phenomenal question. And I do think it will, because we watch these film it's slowed down and it's from every angle, and that's not football. Like, the average play is 3 seconds. The average hit is a split second. You don't have enough time to actually think and process. You're just reacting off your training. So what's going to happen is when guys, it's so dangerous to be on the football field and thinking about what you shouldn't do. You just need to react and do what you think you should do. So again, we're protecting offensive players, but to your point, there's a risk to the defensive guys too. Like, what happens if you don't hip drop? Like, do you pull your core because you're trying to avoid, like, do you dislocate your shoulder because you're trying to avoid landing on top of them? These are all things. And also, I get this because, let's use the Super Bowl, for example. The first half of that Super Bowl, you were thinking the same thing, right? Like, this is a boring game. And the reason is it was a defensive game. I, as a football fan, appreciate it, but it was boring. The best games we ever see, when we talk about the greatest games we see, it usually has to do with how high scoring and back and forth it is.
Yeah.
So the NFL is sitting here saying, we got to protect, our offensive players, and I get that. I was watching Batman Begins this weekend.
Great movie.
So Bruce Wayne has to make some tough decisions to protect the Wayne enterprise, right? And all these people are involved, and like, they didn't understand it, and they're pissed off, and Alfred's giving him advice like, Mr. Wayne, you got to do this stuff. And yet Bruce Wayne had to do certain things that did anger and frustrate other people for the betterment of the game. So I can sympathize with the owners to say they all know, we all, as NFL players, you all get paid based on the revenue you can bring in, which is heavily dependent on the quarterbacks and the star power on the offensive side of the ball. So to that part, I get it, but I just don't know. At some point, we got to lay this out for the defenders on what their expectations are. I just don't know what it is.
Well, and it's for the betterment of the game, and you're looking in the long run, right? You're looking at the future, that next generation of football players here. But, you're getting on social media and you're seeing the reaction from guys across the league here. J.J. Watt, he was very outspoken. You have DJ Reader from the Lions. He said that these rules are getting crazy. Two-hand tag is better fit for this game. I mean, it's like, because this is a learning curve for them. Their whole life they've been trained a certain way, and then now suddenly you're like, all right, you gotta change your technique here, and if you don't, your wallets are going to be impacted by it. So you can imagine there's some pushback from these players, because like you said before, what do you want from us, right? Like, how can you expect us to just change in this way? But it is for the betterment of the game, and although they might not understand it, the current players right now, it is hopefully going to be that next wave of football players and keep guys safer.
I don't know that I want to watch it as a fan, though. I don't want. The Pro Bowl is an atrocious, it is an atrocious.
It's a hard watch.
I like the big hits. I know that I took some big shots in my career.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of taking a shot and standing back up again. You know what I mean?
That's
but
what
I also
football.
know, look, I probably got concussed a couple times too.